Alright, my Scythe people, I'm here with some educational Scythe content. This is applicable to 1v1 and 3-player and 4-player. So the concept today is swingable scores. Let me move this down a little so you can read it. Cool. I wasn't quite sure which color to put the title in, but you can see the title here. So what we're going to talk about has a lot to do with numbers. So sometimes in a Scythe game, this is a really important concept, especially if you're like gonna end the game. But I put together a board state here to demonstrate this concept and like the extreme version of it, of how much a score can swing. So I'm new to this Tabletopia simulator to set up board states for content. So just excuse me if I struggle a little bit in terms of like the mechanics of moving around units and stuff. But there's gonna be a lot of math. This is kind of a math exercise, and it changes depending on what pop tier everyone's at, each player is at. So I'm going to show you a demonstration of Crimea versus Saxony with a pop swing. So just imagine those are the only boards in play. I put together a board state where Crimea has 1 mech and 4 buildings, and a lot of spread and a pretty high score. They also have, 10 pop, let's just say, or sorry, like about 9 pop, let's say. So they have quite a big score. And it's, they have this much money from all their stuff they've done. Let's say we have like Crimea Engineering or something. I believe it's probably Crimea Engineering. So the boards aren't super important, just the actual state and how the workers are set up and how every unit's structured is what's most important. So like, let's say Saxony is behind by like 20 points. They can get a lot of points on their movement with the triple move. Just imagine all these mechs are on this tunnel, and yeah, they have Riverwalk, underpass, everything like that. So I'm just going to show you what can happen. So Crimea is leading by like 20 points for Saxony. This is an extreme version of the point swing. So let's just say, we'll just do some math. Let's just say they're both in tier 1 popularity, right? So like, we'll just put this down, just put this at 4, 5. Okay, so let's see what can happen here. So if you notice how the workers are set up for Crimea and where the buildings are, there can be a lot of points swung. So like normally when you do a move, a triple move, you can leave the territory you're on with 1 worker on it, then you take a step, drop a worker, and then you can squash a worker on the 3rd one, and you get 3 units that can do that. So think about that. So you're gaining from your current score 2 points in tier 1, 2 points for the new territory, 2 points for the new territory, and then 2 more points for the 2nd territory you go to, plus you bump a worker, so that's minus 2 points for them. So that's a 6 point swing per unit, and you could potentially do that if the board's if it's available on the board. You could potentially do that 3 times. That's like not include, those are just normal territories, no factory. So just think about that. That could be 18 point swing if you're both in tier 1. If they're in tier 2 or 3, it can swing even further. Same thing with you. So up to 6 points. I think it gets even more extreme. It turns into 8 points in a situation like this. So I'll just demonstrate. So let's just say we take this unit for one of our first moves. We drop a worker, and then we move here, kick this. This worker is going to get kicked, right? So now we've taken over. So this is let's say they're both in tier 1. So we gain a territory, they lose a territory. That's 4 points because it was a building that nothing stopped our movement. And then we kick a worker and take another territory. That's 8 points. So that's 8 point swing both in tier 1. This is like a max swingable score from the board state. So then let's do our first move. So usually the max is 6 points that you can swing. But with the way the buildings are set up, if Saxony has the ability to move, it can be even more. So then we'll say we move to this tunnel, drop this worker, and then we move here because we have Riverwalk. Kick these workers. So let's just see what we did. That's 8 more points. So maximum swings right here. And then what we can do, if we want, is we could come, jump to the underpass. Let me see where else. Yeah, jump to underpass. Let's just bring a worker. Not that it's not important for this, but like, here we go. We step on another. So boom. That last move only picked us up 4 points. You know, I think another thing we could have done is that would have gotten us the same amount is if we did this piece. So we could take these two and go here, drop the worker, and then come here. That would also get us the same amount, but we wouldn't be in their base on their tunnel and get to... So, I mean, in terms of point swingable score, it's the same thing. So that's 4 points. So we got 8, 8, and 4. That is 20 points. That's a 20-point swing. And how much did Crimea lose? If they're in tier 1, they lost 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 territories. So if they're in tier 1, they lost 10 points. So that's a huge swing. Now let's just look at this. Let's just look at this as if we did those same moves in tier 1 Saxony versus tier 2 Crimea. So again, we had like the max swings with stepping on their buildings and dropping workers. It was optimal, right? If you pick the right movement. So we go, for each step we would just add 1 to it if we go up a tier. So like basically this move here, so we gain 2, they lose 3. We gain 2, they lose 3. So that would be 6, so that's 10. So now this move went from 8 to 10, I think. Yeah, 8 to 10. And then this move here, we gain 2, they lose 3, that's 5. Again, we gain 2, they lose 3, that's 10. So now that's 20 off of two mechs. And then the last mech, we have diminishing returns a little bit, but we gain 2, they lose 3, we gain 2 more. So we gain 2 territories, 4, and then they lost 3 from this because they're in tier 2. So that's 7. So that's 27 points now if we're in tier 1 and they're in tier 2. Originally it was 8 plus 8 plus 2, 4, 6. So yeah, 8 plus 8, 16, 20, I think 22. Yeah, it was 22. So yeah, 22. Now up a tier, we go 10, 10, and then I think 8, 10, 10, 7. So 27 now. So if they're in tier 3, it's an even bigger swing. Also, if we can knock all these workers and stay in tier 1, you know, we're picking up, in terms of what we get, instead of 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, now we're getting 3 every time instead of those 2s. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So I believe that's 6. So 3 times 6 is 18. Plus we're bumping them. If they're in tier 2, they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 3. So I believe that was, yeah, 16 plus 5 times 3 is 15, 31 points. So now it's an even bigger swing if we can, you know, we bumped 4 workers though, so it's going to be really hard to maintain tier 2 pop. But yeah, that could be a 31 point swing. So this is showing what like a maximum swingable score would be. You know, the opposite case of this, I'll probably do something with Albion where it's like all blocked off and like based on one faction moving against them, they can't lose anything. But Albion has really swingable scores because of like they put worker on a flag and that doubles it. So that's the full concept. I hope that this makes sense. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And there's a lot of ways to swing and prevent swing of your score, but it has to do with worker and mech placement and also what your score is composed of. So like if it's mostly coins, then that's unswingable. But if pop creates a lot of like variability to swinging, but pop you control if you lose it, unless it's them stepping on your workers. Like you would lose it if you move certain ways. So Yeah, there's different ways to swing this stuff and to prevent this stuff being swung, but it's really, you don't want to have like a super inflated score like this where it's super vulnerable. So this is just an extreme case. Usually you'll have mechs stopping work movement and blocking things, etc. And like you would want to keep mechs on these structures a little bit more, or sorry, you would want to keep workers on these tiles that have structures a little bit more to stop the mech movement, so they can't get those like 4 territory swings off one move. That's the like very rarely available, but like the best possible scenario. So yeah, I may do a future video on like the other side of the extreme case of this, but if you think about it, you'll understand, you'll be able to determine ways that create swings and like prevent swings. But yeah, coin is unswingable. Territory is very swingable, especially when it's multiplied by pop. So that's the end. Hope this was valuable. I hope everyone learned something. Thanks.